Welcome back to the first episode of Under the Hoodies. I am your host, Bill Kegel. That is the co-host, Tony DeNicola, a.k.a. Cuse Waterboy. And anybody watching the live stream, if you're curious, Tony is not a Syracuse Syracuse University fan. So, very important to note that he absolutely despises the team and he wears the shirt and hat and colored his dog, and his girlfriend are all orange out of spite because he's a huge Georgetown guy.
Oh, fuck Georgetown. You really got to start that way.
Also important to note that Tony is a huge Eagles fan. So the band, the Eagles, not the Philadelphia Eagles.
You're really trying to work me up tonight.
Yeah, I'm just fucking with you. So, all right.
Trying to come down, man. Had a nice leg night. Nice little workout. Earning my turkey cheat day tomorrow. International cheat day, by the way.
International cheat day is tomorrow. So this morning, I actually did a hit with my wife. I did not hit my wife, nor did she hit me, thankfully, because she might hit harder than I do. But I did the high intensity interval training. And, I thought it was like one of those things like, oh, this is just for, these are for like, older couples or older people that want to get into shape. I am one of those older people that need to get in shape, I found out. 1. 2, bro, I was drenched. It literally looked like I went outside during I don't want to say like, in that episode in the scene in Forrest Gump where he's in Vietnam and it starts raining.
Yeah.
That whole montage was my face today. So it was tough, man. It was really, really tough since the gyms are shut down here in Western New York. I have to work out with my wife's crew, and
let me pour one out to you guys out in the orange zone in Buffalo.
Oh my God, I know. It's absurd. But yeah, I gotta give that crew credit, man. They whooped my ass.
Hey man, try yoga. Yoga is the most I've ever sweat in my life, and I've done
yoga's tough, dude.
Yoga killed me.
I did yoga in the Army, man, and I'm telling you, that was when I was in shape. I can imagine my big ass doing it now. It was brutal. It was brutal. I was like moving parts of my body I didn't realize moved.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I did
it during bulking season, like last winter.
Oh, God.
And like I'm just stretching and sweating, and
the
yoga instructor's like, okay, I think it's gonna be chilly in here. Let's turn off these fans. I'm like, please God, no, I'm dying. I'm sweating from every orifice.
It's so bad, dude. I was like pretty convinced I had hip dysplasia after I got done with yoga.
Yeah.
I was like, I had like stuff Rottweilers get. So anyway, let's get to the show. So for those not familiar, which is probably every single person on earth, I am Bill Kegel, a nobody who just loves sports and likes talking about it. And that is Tony. Tony also loves sports and is a nobody. And actually, he's more of a somebody than I'll ever be because Tony is a whistleblower, a very nuisance Twitter user. So he is
the most active and just ridiculous Twitter you've ever seen. It carries a variety of topics.
He's like the fun Twitter troll. Like he's not Cheeto fingers in his mom's basement. Tony owns a house, so he does it from his own basement, and I don't think he likes Cheetos. So
what was the latest thing I tweeted talking about how Wegmans is coming under a lot of scrutiny for not enforcing their mask policy? I talked about how they just need to hire a bunch of meatheads that can't go to the gym like me and just let us stand at the front door and, we'll make sure people wear masks.
Yeah, I mean, you guys should just put masks over your biceps just to send a message. I think it'd be hilarious. So basically what we're going to do is you and I each pick 2 topics each. We're going to talk about them, and at the end of the show, we're going to go on a rant. So this way we're not filling the airways with Syracuse and wrestling and movies and just all the nonsense that Tony and I are into that aren't directly sports related, stuff we want to actually talk about on the show. That's so we can sort of just spew out whatever we want to at the end of the show. So that's the way to stop us from both of our addictions, which is talking about ourselves and the 2 things we're interested in. So first topic, Taysom Hill versus Jameis Winston. So this is my topic, and I actually wanted to get your thoughts on it before I really dive into why I think that might have been a bad decision, and I'm also simultaneously changing my mind. So what were your thoughts on that after watching Taysom Hill?
I mean, he started off slow, but picked up steam in the second half. I mean, he looked good. It worked. And my thing, too, is what are they paying him? $13 million?
Yeah.
And Sean Payton is convinced he's the future. Well, Breeze is out for a while. Let's see what he's got. I was surprised, though, because, they're a playoff team. They either have – what are they now? They have the number 1 seed, I think, in the NFC over the Packers.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I thought Jameis would be the more stable option, but they have faith in Hill. And – I give credit to Sean Payton, too, because he's one of these people. And I talk about this mantra all the time. I live my life by it. Accentuate the positives, hide the negatives.
Right.
He's the type of coach that will do that. He'll change his scheme and he'll fit and use Taysom Hill, whatever suits him best. He'll change his scheme to fit Taysom Hill. And I don't know, it just worked. And it's like, if he's your quarterback of the future, like, let's see what he's got. Like, Drew Brees has got maybe another year, 2 at best.
It wouldn't surprise me if he retired at the end of this year. There was a lot of rumors saying that they had to talk him into coming back this year because he already has like kind of a mega deal with NBC for once he's done with football that he just like to sort of picks up where he left off financially with NBC.
That was intriguing to me too because like you sign a deal for post career like that, it's like you already got 1 foot out the door.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sort of like UFC fighters say, like, if you're already thinking about other things, then you're done with the sport. The sport will be done with you before you're done with it, unless
and they
you're
also
one of those
say
guys.
Too, once you're checked out like that, that's when you get hurt. And look at Drew Brees right now.
Dude, he got flattened too. That hit looked brutal. This dude just flattened him. He broke 11 ribs and a punctured a lung.
Yeah, and I didn't know a human being had 11 ribs, which shows you how much I know about the human anatomy. Like that shocked me the most. I'm like, he broke 11. I'm like, we have 11.
Yeah, I was never sure since I haven't seen my ribs in my life. I was not 100% sure. So that's interesting to hear. It's good to know that I have at least 11 ribs. So and
hopefully 2 healthy lungs.
Healthier than Drew Brees are currently. I think even with a punctured lung, Drew Brees might be metabolically a more fit human being than I am. But
I'm shocked too he stayed on the sideline because I'm like, if I broke 11 ribs and had a punctured lung, take me to the hospital.
Oh, dude, I remember when I worked at a local shoe store. Shoe store here, and one of the boxes was sticking out. Yeah, Al Bundy. And I went to like lift my arm and sort of ran into the side of a box and like caught it on my rib, and I almost called off work. I almost called off work. I was like, you know what? I don't think I can finish today. I am going to be day to day with this injury, and I need to go home because
you need to go on the injured list. That's
pretty bad. Store. Yeah. I didn't have a 315-pound athletic freak of nature land on me. Like, I can't imagine how much pain he was in. So big ups to Drew Brees for that. So look at the Taysom Hill stats. He threw 18 for 23 for 233 yards, didn't throw a touchdown or a pick, but he ran for 2 touchdowns and also had another 51 yards in the ground. And he actually looked really good against the Falcons, which is actually an excellent tune-up game for him because, he's eventually going to face better defenses. He doesn't have to face Tampa this year, which is probably a good thing for him because they are a very good blitzing team. They're very good at getting after the quarterback, but it is kind of a good sign for him that
it's funny too. You talk about him facing better defenses. You know who he plays next week?
Who's that?
At Denver.
Yeah, he's gonna have Bradley Chubb chasing him around, and who? By the way, sidebar: Justin Simmons for Denver is phenomenal. Phenomenal. He might be the best player no one talks about. That guy is excellent. All over the field. I read Pro Football Focus. He was graded the number 1 defensive player for last week. But yeah, so Denver is going to be a tough test for him. That's who they play Sunday. I was trying to bring it up here.
So Denver, and then they have the Falcons again, twice in 3 weeks.
Oh, interesting. Well, those are a couple winnable games. I mean, those are the 3 games they have while Drew Brees is out. They said he's only going to miss 3 weeks. So that might be a good thing if Taysom Hill can just float him through those. And the good thing is if Taysom Hill gets hurt, you actually have a competent quarterback in Jameis Winston, who is, I think, I'm curious how much the LASIK played into Jameis's Jameis's interceptions last year. But I actually heard an interesting stat about Bruce Arians, sort of, backtracking a little bit on what we're talking about and talking about just Jameis as a quarterback. So Jameis Winston, Carson Palmer, Andrew Luck, and now Tom Brady are all Tom Brady hasn't yet, but likely will at this pace. All have career high interceptions with Bruce Arians. Isn't that nuts?
That's interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I thought that was fascinating, and I thought that division would sort of be the class of the NFC. Still might be, considering the fact you and I are both fans of NFC East teams. But man, the NFC West is really intriguing, as well as the NFC South. But I don't know, man. If you were Sean Payton, who do you go with in that situation? With hindsight being what it is.
Oh, I mean, originally I thought they should have gone with Watson, but I mean, maybe that's just me, my own selfish needs, because Watson is, an over machine as far as betting, just because of all the turnovers. Like, his games are just really electric and they're fun to watch, even if he's not successful. But I mean, I don't blame them for going with Hill. Like I said, you got to see what he's got, and so far it worked out. I mean, we'll see against Denver, much tougher test, and down the road, December 20th, they have KC, so that'll be a really fun matchup. Mahomes
is that game in New Orleans or is that in Kansas City?
I still have it right here. That game is in New Orleans.
Well, that bodes well for them. I mean, they could get into a shootout, but I don't know. Especially, like, the Saints are interesting because Drew Brees, you can kind of tell how much different the team looked with a guy with a stronger arm. It did look like, and Michael Thomas was back. He was sort of resurrected by Taysom Hill, of all people.
Well, the thing we're not mentioning too is that defense. That defense is playing like with their hair on fire now.
Yeah, they're really good. Their D-line has looked really good. Demario Davis has been playing really well for them.
Which is impressive, too, because New Orleans is one of the few teams that has that home field advantage, which they don't have this year with no fans or limited fans. If there's any team that feeds off of that, it's defense in New Orleans.
Right, 100%. And that is, I think, considered the loudest stadium in the league. I definitely know it's in the top 5, but I think decibel level, it's like them and Seattle are sort of neck and neck. So that definitely is a big factor for them. And I do still think that, man, I maybe the sample size is just going to be too small, that we're not really ever going to figure this out unless Taysom Hill ends up starting next year if Drew Brees does retire. But I do think I do think Jameis Winston is the best. Jameis Winston is the better option over Hill because he's just been a quarterback for longer. I mean, Taysom Hill's 30, which is like ancient for an NFL player. So yeah. I do think that Jameis long term is probably their better play. I mean, what would Chicago give up for Jameis Winston right now? Honestly, probably 2 firsts. And Jameis is like a turnover machine, but he can throw the ball. He's got a great arm. He's not a bad quarterback at all. He's a starting quarterback. He's a first overall pick for a reason. One of the better college players in our lifetime. And I do just think, man, I think if this was a longer term where Brees was out for the year, I do theorize that Peyton goes with Jameis and Hill just as kind of to mix it up the rest of the way and just try to piece as many wins together as they can.
So I'm looking up Jameis Winston's contract.
I think it was like 1 year, $4 million. It was kind of a way to resurrect his career a little bit. But I do think if Chicago doesn't get in the quarterback carousel during the draft, or if there's no like tasty free agent that comes out other than Jameis, I do think that Jameis is destined for somebody like Chicago.
So his contract's for $1.1 million, but if
1.1 million.
There's incentives for $3.4 million. So.
Interesting. So maybe that's why they're not playing him.
Yeah,
maybe that came from upstairs as opposed to because they're already paying Taysom that money to throw 1 terrible or 2 terrible passes a game and do some trickery. I mean, he's getting paid an absurd amount of money as a gadget guy, you know.
Yeah, and
Ted Ginn couldn't get that kind of money
last year, so he took a $19 million pay cut. Jameis Winston.
Jameis did.
Yeah.
I'm sure the ends are still meeting pretty fine. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Jameis after.
Oh, so Taysom Hill has a 2-year deal worth $21 million with 16 guaranteed.
That is absurd. Taysom Hill is very, very expensive duct tape.
You gotta figure out what he's got if you're paying him that much. Now,
no, I agree. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it was a financial decision, but it did work out for him. The Saints won, and I might have been wrong. So I'll live with that. So going on to topic 2, this is your topic here, and I thought it was interesting. So. I do know there's a ton of coincidences with the Alex Smith and Joe Theismann injuries, but now with Joe Burrow, RG3, Alex Smith, Joe Theismann, tell me about the curse of FedEx Field.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just pure coincidence or something wrong with that turf. And, early in the year, there was a lot of talk of MetLife when all those Niners went down on their turf. I'm not really sure if there's total science behind it or it is an absolute coincidence, but it just kind of makes you wonder. And it's awful to see Burrow go down. And I think back to that. I think it was in the first half that hook hit he took from Chase Young.
He got demolished.
Yeah, we all thought for sure Burrow was going to score. And I remember texting you at that time, and I'm like, where did Chase Young come from? He just completely came off screen and just drilled him into the shoulder. And then to find out, too, that the injury in that knee is worse than they previously thought. Like
ACL, MCL, and other structural injuries. Yeah, that's what I read.
Yeah. Like, it sucks to see, man, because he was doing so well. And to piggyback off this point, too, protect your franchise quarterback. I mean, how many times have we seen this? We've seen it with Matt Schaub in Houston. We see it now with Deshaun Watson in Houston. We saw it with Dak Prescott in Dallas.
Even Russell Wilson, the year he went 9-7, and he was I think it was the only year in his career he didn't make the playoffs. He had a terrible offensive line, and he somehow drugged them to 9-7. And it is like one of those things with Burrow that, like, all right, Tony, you owned a field, right? And in the middle of the field, you had $18 million in small bills.
Yes, I see where you're going with this.
Did you put a fence around it?
Yeah. And maybe
not like a chain link, but like chicken wire, but
just take it away.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. They invest so much in their franchise quarterback, and they do nothing to protect him. So it's like having this shiny new building, like next door to like the Cracker Barrel, and just you don't put up senior blockers so old people can just plow through the front glass doors.
Right, senior blockers. Yeah, no, you are 100% right on that. I mean, I do think that I think that this might be a good thing for Cincinnati in an odd way, because they're probably he's too good for them not to win a couple more games. This might actually help their draft pick, because they're trotting out Ryan Finley.
Which as a Syracuse fan I know quite well, as he was the starter at NC State.
Yes.
And someone we all love to just completely shit on.
Yeah, he's not a good player. So, and actually the Giants, who play them this week, have a good defense. So it'll be interesting to see how he does against them.
Yeah, but, and I remember Syracuse just in a shootout owning him, too, back in 2018 when we actually had a good team. The good old days.
So I'm going to look up, unless you have it, the Alex Smith, Joe Theismann coincidences.
My God! I think it was the same down in yardage. It was like the same yard line, same knee. Like, it's eerie. Wasn't it like the same week of the season too? Like, there's so many things.
Yeah. So here we go. I got it right here.
All right, creepy.
So this is the curse of FedEx Field, outside of Daniel Snyder owning them, which is definitely the biggest curse of owning that. Yeah, that franchise is an absolute disaster. They can't even get the grass that grows from the earth correct. So, here's
owner. Honestly, and take out financials. Jerry Jones or Dan Snyder. Like, Jerry Jones gets. I mean, he's a propaganda machine and prints a ton of money with Dallas, but like results driven. Who's the worst owner?
Oh, I think it's Daniel Snyder without a doubt. I mean, out of the two, are just in the league.
But Dallas has so much more talent, though. Dallas,
but they acquire talent. They're at least they give false hope. Not whereas,
which I hate.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
We do more we do less with more. Like, it's insane to me.
So here we go. These are the coincidences for the Ford Field or FedEx Field, whatever you want to call it, the eeriness, the haunting of FedEx Field. Joe Theismann broke his right tibia and fibula on November 18th, 1985, in a game in Washington, and ended in 23-21. The only three-time Defensive Player of the Year, Lawrence Taylor, was involved in the injury, which occurred on the 40-yard line. Theismann's Pro Bowl left tackle, Joe Jacoby, wasn't on the field due to injury. Alex Smith broke his right tibia and fibula on November 18th, 2018, in a game in Washington that ended 23-21. The only other three-time Defensive Player of the Year, J.J. Watt, was involved in an injury, which occurred around the 40-yard line. Smith's Pro Bowl left tackle, Trent Williams, was not in the game due to injury.
That's
how eerie is that, man?
See, I knew a couple of those points, but not that much. That's
crazy. And then, but if you think about it, I mean, you think like a couple weeks ago, Kyle Allen got absolutely demolished. I don't know how that guy's doing. That's why Alex Smith is even playing. I mean,
and kudos to him. Like, there was no reason for him to come back at all. What did they say? I think he had 17 surgeries or something absurd.
Yeah. Did you watch the thing on E60? They had his leg open. Oh, he had he had an infection. He almost lost his leg. Yeah. But it ate away at the muscle tissue and stuff. He had to regrow it all. And it's absolutely amazing that guy is still playing in the NFL.
Oh,
Not
yeah,
to mention
comeback
it's his
player of the year,
15th
hands
season.
down.
Yeah, everybody's like, there's a lot of like buzz towards like Big Ben. I don't see how you don't give it to somebody that almost lost their leg and came back. And not to mention, it's also Alex Smith's 15th
Or
season.
just name the award after him. Just call it the Alex Smith Award.
I think that would, give Big Ben the Alex Smith Award. That's a good idea, actually. That solves both problems, honestly. So, all right. Anything else? Anything else left on this topic? I cannot talk today.
No, I mean, I want to drive home the point of like, and I say this specifically toward my Dallas Cowboys: protect your biggest asset.
Yeah.
If you're going to give Dak whatever it's going to be, 30, 35 million a year, put some beef in front of him, man.
Right, 100%. So, going on topic 3. My topic, and you need to let me know what topic number 4 is. I don't know what that is. What's your second topic? So, but we'll get to that in a second. Next is Justin Herbert the best rookie quarterback of all time? So I did some research for this, Tony. I actually burned a couple calories doing this. Not as many as I did my wife's HIIT class this morning. But burned some. So, what I did is I made a list of modern quarterbacks, and I called it the APM quarterback, which is after Peyton Manning, right?
Yep.
So I took all the rookie quarterbacks and just checked their stats, see how many games they started. So I started with like kind of a baseline of like you had to play the majority of a season, right? Or put up really good numbers in the small amount of games that you did play. So what I did is I went through from 98 to 2020 and just wrote down all of the notable quarterbacks that were drafted in that year, right? So Peyton Manning, 98, McNabb, 99, Pennington, 2000, Mark Bulger, 2000, Tom Brady, 2000, Michael Vick, 2001, Drew Brees, 2001, David Carr, Carson Palmer, Eli Rivers, et cetera, et cetera. So I went through all those, right? So what I did is I looked at every single one of their individual stats and I narrowed it down. Here are the players that played a good chunk of the season. So, and these are the players we're going to be talking about and discussing in the best rookie quarterbacks of all time. Peyton Manning, I only put David Carr in here just because that poor bastard was sacked 76 times as rookie.
Yep.
His brother as a rookie, and we'll get to his stats in a second, only 24 times. Probably the same talent level, but, unfortunately, David Carr, derailed a little bit by your theory about Joe Burrow. Protect your franchise quarterback, which is what the Texans did not do and ruin that man's career.
We're seeing a pattern here. Protect your guy. That's your guy. That's the most important piece.
So Peyton Manning, Big Ben, Vince Young, Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco, Mark Sanchez, Sam Bradford, Cam Newton, Dalton, Luck, RG3, Russell Wilson, Ryan Tannehill, Derek Carr, Jameis, Carson Wentz, Dak, Baker, Kyler, Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. Now, take out the two from this year.
Sample size. I'm impressed.
So hold on. We're going to narrow it down even further.
Yeah.
So of those guys, here are the guys that had winning records. Big Ben was 13-0. Matt Ryan 11-5. Vince Young was 8-5 as a rookie. I skipped him by mistake. Joe Flacco 11-5. Mark Sanchez 8-7. Andy Dalton 9-7. Andrew Luck 11-5. RG3 9-6. Russell Wilson 11-5. And Dak Prescott 13-3 as a full-time starter as a rookie. That's the list. So of those names that I listed off, I know I was kind of fast, but who do you think has had the best rookie season so far? Since Peyton Manning.
Since Peyton Manning.
Statistically. I mean, you can take record as well if you want to do it that way. And I did write down, like I said, all of the records.
Vic was in that list, right? Because Vic was electric.
So Vic did not. Vic barely played his rookie year. I think he only played like 5 games.
Oh, okay.
So Vic really didn't explode until 2002. So which was his second year. So
I remember Roethlisberger having a good year, but he had a lot of talent around him.
Roethlisberger went 13-0, like I said, but he only had he started 13 games, 2,621 yards, 17 touchdowns, 11 picks, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna narrow this list down even further. So of the quarterbacks that threw over 20 touchdowns, Peyton Manning, Cam Newton, Andy Dalton, Andrew Luck, RG3, Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, Jameis, Dak Prescott, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, and Herbert. So we're going to narrow this down even a little further, okay?
Well, I'm taking Baker and Jones off that list.
For rookies?
For best rookie season?
Yeah. So it depends on how you want to go. Baker actually had a better rookie season than you would think. Baker went 6-7. 3,000. So he started 13 games, 3,725 yards, 27 touchdowns, 14 picks, right? So, so we can litigate this a little further. Russell Wilson is 11-5, 3,118 yards, 26 touchdowns, 10 picks, right?
Yep.
I thought Andrew Luck was better, but he did throw for a lot of yards. 4,374 yards, 23 touchdowns, 18 picks. Cam, I also thought had a better year than this statistically, and I didn't count his rushing touchdowns. I'm more or less just doing this as a pure quarterback throwing the football. That's circumstantial, but but I'm doing this for a reason, okay? So Cam Newton, 21 touchdowns, 17 picks, 4,051 yards, right? So your boy Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott are kind of the two I'm looking at right here as far as wins, touchdown interception ratio, and just taking care of the ball. Russell Wilson had 10 picks, right? Dak Prescott had 4. Dak Prescott had 13-3, 3,600 yards, 67, 23 touchdowns, 4 picks as a rookie, right? So I did a little.
Dak had to play well enough to keep Romo from coming back.
Exactly.
Romo came back from injury and didn't get his spot back.
So honestly, before this year, after Peyton Manning, which is when I consider it to be the birth of the modern NFL quarterback, because there's a lot of Peyton Manning copycats out there, and it's almost everybody. So based on wins, stats, and just overall impact on the team, I actually am going to say that I do believe that Dak Prescott is the best rookie quarterback after Peyton Manning, or after Peyton Manning came into the league, I should say. Dak Prescott, 13-3, barely threw an interception, 23 touchdowns, right? This leads me to Justin Herbert and these absurd numbers. So I actually had to do some math, Tony. This is where I burned calories. Justin Herbert has started 9 games. He has thrown for 2,699 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So what I did is I divided those numbers by 9 and then multiplied by 16 to extrapolate for an entire season, right? So if he were to start game 1 playing exactly how he plays now through a total of 16 games, Justin Herbert will throw 4,798 yards, 39 touchdowns, which absolutely demolishes Baker's rookie record, and 11 picks. Oof. So, and I get that is circumstantial because he is playing with an elite offense, I think. But this is also with Anthony Lynn as his coach, right? Anthony Lynn is not a good play caller. Anthony Lynn is not a good head coach. Anthony Lynn is a phenomenal running backs coach. He actually might be a good offensive coordinator, but he's not a good head coach. Joe Burrow. So I did the same thing for Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was thrown for 2,688 yards, 13 touchdowns, 5 picks. But I did the same thing with him. I took the number of games he's played and I multiplied. So based on this, he would have 23 touchdowns, 8 picks. Kind of on par with the upper end of the rookie quarterbacks, right? So the reason I didn't take win-loss record in is because a lot of this is so circumstantial to defense, special teams, coaching, play calling, and whatnot, right? So so Justin Herbert, unfortunately for him, is 2-7 as a rookie. But how many close games did they lose because of the defense and special teams?
Well, the Chargers are the kings of losing close games.
Dude, they've been doing this since 2015.
Yeah.
But
if they're getting like 7 points or more as far as betting, you take them every single time blindly.
1,000,000%.
Their record in one possession games is something astronomical the last 2 seasons. I heard it the other day, but I forget the stat. But I think it's like 2-10 or something like that.
It's unbelievable, dude.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it is.
The law of averages says you have to win a few of those. Like eventually the ball has to go your way, and it just doesn't. And it seems Instagram. It's like a culture at this point. It's like ever since they fired Marty Schottenheimer, like things just don't go their way and they waste talent.
So Instagram had a funny joke about this. I want to say it was on Barstool. So the score was 32-31, Chargers over the Falcons. I think it was the Falcons. And with 0.00 seconds left in this, and somebody wrote only the Chargers would lose this game, which is freaking brilliant because that is absolutely encompassing of what that team is. So I say all that to say that without any hyperbole, and I use numbers to back up my point, Justin Herbert is by far the best rookie quarterback we've ever seen.
Yeah.
By far. What that guy's doing is electric. Did you see the touchdown throw to the back of the end zone to Keenan Allen?
The way he zipped it in.
Unbelievable. The camera couldn't keep up with him, dude. I can't turn a flashlight on that fast. Like,
Yeah.
that was absurd. It was absolutely absurd. So
You speak of Herbert, too, and you talk about that rocket arm. He's playing another rocket arm this week in Josh Allen and the Bills. That is a tasty matchup.
it really is. And I actually
And when do you think we ever would have said that in the past? Chargers-Bills is a great matchup. But, like,
I know.
It's got high scoring. That's got fun written all over it.
And listen to the weather in Buffalo that day. 50 degrees and sunny. That's going to be a fun game, man.
Let's go. Light it up.
Yeah. I really wish the world hasn't shut down for many, many reasons. And me living about 20 minutes from the stadium as a Giants fan would love to go to that game. I would 1,000,000% love to go to that game.
Yeah.
Because it'll be another 8 years before Justin Herbert's here. So
Bills are 5.5-point favorites, and the over-under is 53. I think you take the Chargers just because they love to lose those close games.
Oh, yeah. The Chargers will lose, but by like 1, 2, or 3 points.
Yeah, absurd.
So, yeah, that is my fancy way of saying that Justin Herbert is absolutely absurd. And I don't know if the Bengals will get their decision. I know Justin Herbert does not regret not being taken by them. But should Miami be worried about their decision? Should they have taken Justin Herbert? I would say so. I mean, 2 was fine. He got benched.
One game.
It is one game, and I get
Everybody
that.
freaks out. Look how Josh Allen was the first couple of years and how he developed.
He did develop, but now what I'm saying is that does Justin Herbert get better from here, or is he peaking early? That's the other question I had too.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I think he can get better. I think he's smart enough to know, and he'll be motivated by losing. It's not like he's coming out playing great and they're winning. He's playing great and they're losing.
And he's not inaccurate. I think that's one of the things. Like
that too. So he's going to look at it too and like, all right, what can I do better?
Right.
We're not winning. What can I keep doing better? If he's killing it and they're winning, then you can have that second season letdown, much like Lamar Jackson in Baltimore.
I think Lamar is sort of the league is sort of caught up with him a little bit, and I think
which they always do. That's why I can't stand when people freak out. And they're like, "Oh, Kansas City's going to win every Super Bowl from here on out. Lamar Jackson will win every MVP." It's like, dude, it will adjust. Like these coaches are just too smart, spend too much time, they watch too much film, they figure people out. That's why you have to keep evolving, keep changing.
Right. And look at the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders figured the Chiefs out. They almost beat them again on Sunday. Like on Sunday night.
Raiders have a good team, man. They're not getting enough credit, and they have a weak schedule coming up.
So, quick sidebar is who was your coach of the year this year? Because I've been hearing a lot of John Gruden buzz. I think it's Mike Tomlin. I 100% think it's Mike Tomlin. But I'll listen to a John Gruden.
The Steelers are 10-0, and nobody talks about them.
I think they're just. I don't think they're boring. I think just like they're not Patrick Mahomes. You know, they're not a young, sexy.
But they play good defense. They can score. Roethlisberger has looked amazing since coming back from that injury, that elbow injury.
Right.
Like he looks the best he's looked in years.
Right.
Yeah. I don't understand. I'm like, they're 10-0, and then people are like, well, they haven't played anybody. The Steelers have 4 wins over teams with winning records. That's the most in the NFL. The Bills have 3 in second place.
Right.
You can't say you haven't played anybody. You play who's on your schedule, and you have the most wins against winning teams. Like, what do you want?
Right, 100%.
You can't just be like, okay, we want the Chiefs this week. Okay, give them the Chiefs.
Right. No, I agree with you 100%. And I think that I don't know, man. I do think that the Chiefs are 100% beatable. I think every team in the league is beatable.
Oh,
but I think
100%.
I think the Steelers are going to just. I had to move.
You're right.
I was hurting my back. I think the Steelers are going to be a tough out because
you know what the Chiefs' fatal flaw is that they think every time they can just flip the switch and turn it on. There's going to be one of these times where they're down 14 or something, and they're like, "Oh, we'll just flip the switch," and the wiring will be bad, and it's not going to come on.
Yeah, I mean they did it at the end of the Raiders game too, but like they seem to tread water and then turn into the Kennedy, the USS Kennedy. Like it's what they do.
They're just bored, and they're like, "All right."
I think that's what it is, man. And I do think
talent too, which is scary. So like, they don't win time of possession. Most teams win time of possession over them because that's the best way. Keep Mahomes off the field, and they can't score. But then he comes out and he just does like a 80, 90-yard touchdown drive in like 2 minutes and change.
Right.
Like 7 plays, boom, touchdown.
It's friggin' unreal how good that guy is. And it's unreal how good the Chiefs are. And I do think we're in for a hell of an AFC championship if it turns out to be Pittsburgh, Kansas City. Because I'd love to see how Patrick Mahomes figures out that defense because Pittsburgh, I mean, even with losing Devin Bush, they didn't miss a beat. Like the guy that replaced Devin Bush is like the second best middle linebacker in the league out of nowhere. It's like, what
which
the
is
actual hell
insane to
just
me.
happened? Yeah.
And then, for the Steelers in the future, there's a lot of talk about Houston, kind of rebuilding and cutting J.J. Watt because he's owed so much.
Could you
and
imagine?
He could just go for like the veteran minimum and go join his brothers in Pittsburgh.
Could you imagine? That'd be absurd.
All three Watt brothers together, yeah.
I think the Seahawks need to ask Russell Wilson for some money and just be like, hey, listen, we'll give you $22 million. Just play 23 plays a game for us, and we'll give you this money, $1 million a play. So, yeah. I mean, just like it's, I don't know, man. The idea of J.J. Watt going there and just being a rotational defensive player and maybe the rotational defensive player of all time is kind of fun. But that Steelers team doesn't need any more help. I do think like I want to say the Steelers have played the easiest strength of schedule so far through this year. Which not their fault, and that's good that they're beating the teams that they should. It's going to be interesting because I think they have a tough couple of games coming up. I want to say they play. I know they got Buffalo coming up. Yeah.
They had the Ravens, which was going to be the nightcap for Turkey Day, and now has been moved to 1:15 on Sunday.
Right. I know.
Which, by the way, did you hear more about that too with like the Ravens strength coach?
Yeah.
About how like they think he might have been the cause of the COVID outbreak. Like they lost both their running backs, a couple of linemen, a linebacker, a couple of offensive linemen.
Yeah.
And this guy's walking around like not wearing his contact tracer bracelet, not wearing a mask, and it's like, dude, what are we doing? Have we not learned anything yet? Like
they're gonna find the hell out of that guy too. I think so.
Yeah. They'll probably fire him. He's a strength and conditioning coach. Like, I'm sorry, I'm a meathead. Like, we're a dime a dozen at times.
Right. So the Steelers, the next two games are Baltimore football team, and then at the Bills, at the Bengals, Colts at home, and then last game of the year is at Cleveland. I mean, they're going to go 14-2. I could see them losing the Buffalo game, and I could see them losing the Colts game. Those are the two games.
Lose its mind if they beat the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm fully locked in on
these guys aren't already nuts. So that would be fun. Buffalo. Yeah. So, oh my God. Last point on this. Do you agree about Justin Herbert? And who do you think the best quarterback, based on the numbers I gave you, the best rookie quarterback of all time is pre this draft?
I mean, I can't go against it. You got a great argument. And Justin Herbert's been electric. And, we've talked about this, how I almost think it may not work in every circumstance, but this maybe is how you introduce rookie quarterbacks from here on out. He found out he was going to play during like the coin toss because Tyrod Taylor got an injection into his lung. Like, it's like, okay, kid, here's the ball. It's your team. Let's go. Like, he doesn't have all week. He doesn't have all offseason, all training camp to think about it, get worked up, have all these doubts creep into his head. You just play off adrenaline and just get out there. Let's see what you got. Just sling it. And it worked brilliantly.
And he almost beat the Chiefs in his first start, too.
Yeah, and once you get playing and once you're in the season, you don't have as much time to sit down, decompress, and think about everything. You're just on to the next week, on to the next opponent. Well, the offseason will come, and it'll finally hit him like a ton of bricks. Like, oh, my God, like, this was crazy. Like, but right now it's working great.
Can I also point out the fact that they don't deserve Justin Herbert, the Chargers? They don't even have a real fan base, dude. Who's a Chargers fan? You ever met a Chargers fan in your life?
No, I did years ago. I worked with
one.
Yeah, I don't know where he is now. He could be dead. Who knows?
Hey, Tony, see if you can get your pet unicorn down here, too, so everybody can see that. I don't believe you met a Chargers fan.
Yeah, in an organization that's wasted so much talent. I mean, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, LaDainian Tomlinson. Are you like one of the greatest running backs of all time? You can't even get him to a Super Bowl, let alone a ring.
Dan Fouts, Kellen Winslow, Stan Humphries. Yeah, I mean, they almost won a Super Bowl against San Francisco. Or I shouldn't say almost, but they made a Super Bowl against San Francisco. They were never in that game. But like Natron Means, like they've had a lot of good players over the course of their time. But if you think about it, since the beginning of 2000, they went from Drew Brees to Phil Rivers to Justin Herbert. Like, they've been blessed with quarterbacks kind of quietly. Everybody talks about how the Packers went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. No one talks about the Chargers going from Brees to Rivers to Herbert. It's just like upgrade. It's been absurd.
It's pretty telling of their franchise that they spent 2 years playing in a goddamn soccer stadium.
Dude, they played in I think like the Carrier Dome's like double the size of that place they're playing at, man.
Yeah, and it was 90% visiting fans every time.
Yeah, I know. It was just an excuse for people in LA to see their favorite team without having to
remember when
travel.
they played the Steelers? It was like nothing but terrible towels in that place.
Oh, I know. My friend, I have a friend that lives in Jacksonville, and she was saying when the Bills played that playoff game in Jacksonville, she was like, I couldn't tell the difference between Jacksonville and Buffalo outside of the weather. She was like, it was crazy. She was like, there were so many Bills fans there. That whole stadium was all Bills fans.
They travel, man. Same thing when they play Tennessee down in Nashville.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Justin Herbert does not, or the Chargers do not deserve Justin Herbert. That guy needs to go to Chicago. Chicago has been talk about being a snake bit franchise by a freaking. They've never had a good quarterback. Who's their best quarterback ever?
Rex Grossman. MV Mitch.
Rex Grossman is their like third best quarterback of their franchise. It's like Jay Cutler, Jim McMahon, and Rex Grossman.
And they have such a good roster and a defense. How does that defense just not give up?
Always. It's unbelievable. That freaking poor. I mean, they had Jordan, so they can't bitch. And they've had the Hawks who've been really good, and the Cubs won a World Series finally. And, so they can't really complain, but the Bears, man.
Even the White Sox have the reigning AL MVP.
Right, exactly. So they can't really complain too much. But at the same time, man, the Bears are just so snake bit with quarterbacks. It was like, we have Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. Give me the guy that started 4 games in the ACC for North Carolina who couldn't beat out a guy that's not even in the XFL. But, let's take that guy. Yeah, I get the Patrick Mahomes thing. I get them not taking him because that guy was not going to be this good coming out of college. No one knew. But Deshaun Watson not drafting him is inexcusable. Before Joe Burrow, but he might be the best college quarterback of all time, Deshaun Watson, until like Trevor Lawrence took over and whatnot. But like Deshaun Watson was amazing. Nick Saban twice had 6 weeks to prepare for him and couldn't stop him.
Yeah,
taking Deshaun Watson is crazy town. It's crazy town. That guy was the most can't miss quarterback prospect of that draft by a furlong.
Trust me, being a Syracuse fan, I got to see Deshaun Watson up close and personal many years, and man, it pains me.
Yeah, dude,
it's really electric.
I know.
And Lamar Jackson just trouncing us.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, man. I do think that the best before this year, based on my numbers, is probably either Russell Wilson or Dak Prescott. And then I think Justin Herbert just destroys them. I would even say Baker maybe because Baker, took kind of a hapless Browns team that was 0-16, and actually took them to, they won 6 games with a 0-16 roster the year before. I mean, you can get good, but Baker, his first year, you can't really. And I'm not a Baker guy, but you cannot deny that first year he was excellent. But I definitely think Justin Herbert is, at least in these 9 games, the best rookie quarterback I've ever seen. And don't forget Deshaun Watson's 6 games where he had 19 touchdowns and 6 picks as well in 6 games before he got injured. So he has
what worked a ton too is coaches have finally realized like, all right, we need to adjust our game plan to fit what these kids are doing in high school and college, not make them fit our scheme. We fit their talents. So many more teams are going to the RPO. They're going to the spread offense. They're not trying to do this whole pro style offense, which was the way for, the past 10, 20, 30 years going back.
Yeah.
Now they're like, all right, what is he good at? Again, accentuate the positives, hide the negatives. And that's what these teams are doing. So many more college quarterbacks are just ready to go from day one in the NFL now. We're seeing just a plethora of it. And I love it. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So what is your 4th topic?
My 4th topic is just because I'm so excited about the return of college basketball and just the plethora of nightmares that COVID is going to bring it. It looks like, I don't know if you've been keeping up on it, but something like in the past 2 weeks, 30 college basketball teams, including Syracuse, had to put all activities on pause. I mean, Coach Jim Boeheim came down with COVID. The team had another positive case on the squad. I don't know if it was a coach or a player. They wouldn't release it. We're finally coming back to practice after like a week and a half. They get to practice tomorrow night on Thanksgiving for their first game on Friday at 3:00. It's just a nightmare. And then today, the first team they're supposed to play, Bryant was supposed to play Stony Brook today, but one of the officials, I guess, tested positive and they canceled that game.
Oh my God. Of course.
Here's the other thing too, and I give credit. I forget who said it on local Syracuse ESPN radio. I heard it today. They brought up an amazing point that I have heard nobody else talk about. It's not so much the coaches and the players, it's the officials you have to worry about with COVID. So these officials, they will referee a game like you just saw in Bryant or or Stony Brook, New York. Then they'll do one on Wednesday. They'll do a game in Syracuse on Friday. They'll go down to Chapel Hill and do a UNC game on Sunday. These referees are just going everywhere. Like, I don't know why college basketball didn't set up like a pod system and like, okay, you guys stay in this regional area, you do all these games, but they're having them zip around doing 3, sometimes 4 games a week. And it's like, you're just begging for trouble. And then and think about these teams, like they're playing sometimes 2-3 games a week, and then the contact tracing. So Syracuse can play on Friday, and then let's say Bryant next Wednesday tests positive for corona, but Syracuse has had a game with, let's say, Buffalo on Tuesday. Now you got to go backwards, contact trace. Okay, now Buffalo has to quarantine, Syracuse has to quarantine, Buffalo's opponent after has to quarantine. Like, it's a mess. I'm excited as all hell to have basketball back. Like, Syracuse born and bred. I love this stuff, but man, it's insane. Like, it's like this giant bubble is just ready to burst, and the way they just condense the schedule, like 26 games from, now the end of November till like early March. Like, I mean, we have, I think, I'll have to look up the schedule. I'll look it up while you talk about it a little bit, but just it's insanity to me.
It would be kind of nice if they would have sort of learned from the other sports and kind of prepped a little bit better. I mean, they've probably had the longest time to go because they have been without a season since the beginning of March. I mean, they canceled all the conference tournaments. They canceled March Madness, obviously, and then they've had since we'll say worst case scenario, right? They've had since June, right? Because a lot of people all thought this COVID thing was going to be like a couple week thing, couple month thing at the longest, and now we're coming up on 9 months of COVID, and it doesn't look like there's the light at the end of the tunnel is sort of appearing, but it's the size of a pinhole. And you would think over the course of that time, they'd be like, all right, since June, what is the NBA doing? Okay, what has the NFL been doing? What has college football been doing? What have they done right? What have they done wrong? What can we do right? What mistakes can we actively avoid? And it doesn't seem like that's what they're doing. It just seems like they're just do your thing. And if someone gets it, we'll just quarantine. No big deal.
They reworked all the schedules too because they want to cut down on travel, go to conference only, cut down, make it regional. The more you cut down on travel, the less problems.
Right.
On my TV right now is a game between Arizona State and Rhode Island.
They're close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty regional.
3,000 miles from each other.
Yeah. Well, you know what? In their defense, they are on the same continent. Maybe that's what they're talking about,
It's insane to me. Like,
dude, World Cup teams are closer than those. Most World Cup teams are closer than those two. Like, that's absurd.
Going back to the schedule, SU, next Saturday, in a week span, they play 3 games. Syracuse at home against Rider, at Rutgers, at Boston College.
So I'm not traveling that far. That's a good example of regional. Rhode Island and Arizona.
My point with it is the condensing the schedule. 3 games in 7 days. You have one positive case in there, and then you knock out 3 games. Maybe the next one, Buffalo, a week after that, 4.
But think about the sprawl of that. Okay, say they play like Rider, right? Someone tests positive after the Rutgers game. And then, so you have to contact trace back to the Rider and the Rutgers. And then Rutgers, who did they play? Who did Rider play?
Yep.
It just like the sprawl of it.
Cards.
Yeah, exactly. The sprawl of it is kind of absurd. I mean, it's sort of kind of like a microcosm of what the whole world is going through, obviously. But like, I think like if you want to have a sport, you have to kind of do what the NBA did or college football, or just don't have it. Like, and I don't want to say that because obviously sports coming back is super important, especially to guys like you and I. But like,
it's crazy to me too,
if
because
you can't figure this out, then just don't fucking have it. I just don't understand.
A lot of these teams came forward and they had these great ideas of like doing like these like regional like tournaments bubbles. So like Syracuse would host one. They would bring 7 other teams into Syracuse for 2 weeks.
Right.
So like Buffalo, St. Bonaventure, Siena, Niagara, all New York teams, bring them in for 2 weeks, and you do like mini tournaments in the dome and all play each other like a round robin kind of, or double.
And you can sell advertising to that because I think these teams, man, there's only like 4 national teams as far as like what the country wants to see in college basketball.
Duke, Carolina, Kentucky.
Duke, Carolina, Kentucky, and Kansas
maybe.
Right? Yeah. So those are the teams. So like I would imagine, and I'm just spitballing here. This I don't know for sure, but I would imagine similar to like baseball and the NBA, the colleges make a lot from like the conference network, similar to like how RSN's work for
SU
for
got cut a
baseball and
check, I
basketball.
think, for like $33 million, I believe, for the ACC network last year.
Right, exactly. So that's what I'm saying is like I think you can still sell advertising to regional sports networks as to where you can actually justify having a season and making money.
Yeah.
By having something like what you're describing or what was suggested to the league and just having you can sell advertising on that even if you did like an ACC tournament, like say, all right, all the teams from the ACC, for 2 weeks you're going to go and you're going to play this many games in this area and then you guys all got to come down here. I mean, there's definitely creative ways to do it, but what they're doing now seems kind of ridiculous. The fact that Rhode Island and Arizona are playing each other, why is anybody traveling that far? Whether Arizona traveled to Rhode Island or Rhode Island traveled to Arizona, it seems kind of crazy. And it's like each state has different
they're at a
protocol.
neutral site. I think it's like a mini tournament or something.
What, like fucking Missouri?
I think it's at Mohegan Sun. Where's that, Connecticut?
Yeah, that's Connecticut. So Arizona had to fly across the country to go there. And great, maybe they isolate them or whatever, but I doubt they're chartering a plane just for them for Arizona. Is it Arizona State or Arizona?
Arizona
I guess
State.
it doesn't even really matter because what team is neither of those teams are. They don't even want to pay the players, right? So what the you think they're really going to give them a plane to fly over? They're probably flying, they're probably flying like JetBlue or some shit. Who knows? I mean, it's not like the Pac-12 is, forking over a lot of money for anything right now anyway. So they're probably hemorrhaging money because they're like the last conferences that joined back into the college football. So I don't know, man. But I guess my overall point is it's like they have to get something creative with it, and they probably have the most time of any other sports league to figure it out. The NBA came up with the bubble, which was perfect.
We've seen it with every sports league. The NFL did this, where they're like, okay, let's just wait it out, and hopefully things just get better. Rather than like making plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. Like, be proactive, not reactive.
But I would think the one thing the NFL has going for it is that they have a pattern of, delicate way to put this, not giving a fuck about their players. So they're just like, hey, listen, I know there's a 14-day quarantine period. So we're going to move your game back 3 days, which makes no sense at all. So
that's another thing the NFL has an advantage to college basketball with. They play one game a week. College basketball can have 2 or 3.
Right. So
it's a lot harder to maneuver, push that stuff back, especially when you cram the schedule. Like college basketball did much what the Big Ten football conference did, where it's like, all right, 8 games in 8 weeks. Right. No cushion.
Right.
Like, what are we doing?
But even baseball.
At the end of the day, like, I don't want anyone to think I'm naive about this. It's all about money. It's not about safety, protection, anything.
Oh, no. Come on now.
That all you want. It's bottom line. It's the dollars. They want to get to March Madness. The NFL wants to get to the playoffs and the Super Bowl. They want to get that TV revenue. Same thing with baseball. Exactly why baseball didn't freak out when they had the Marlins, being rescheduled for 20-something games.
The whole team, dude.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, like as a staunch capitalist, I actually kind of agree with just keep swimming, man. Like Dory said, just keep swimming because it's a lot of jobs. And like we need as many jobs as we can get right now to keep the economy, from completely drowning. I think
at the end of the day, it's a choice. Like, and Boeheim has come forward. He's brought up a great point about it, and so is Dino Babers, our football coach. Like, these kids are safer on campus getting tested 3 times a week than
100%. 100%. Just doing whatever.
You're allowed to opt out if you want. Everyone's getting an extra year.
Right. I don't think a lot of kids are living like Trevor Lawrence is when he's home, like also in these college things. I think a lot of kids are going to a lot of suspect areas. And not to mention football players. I would say most college athletes come from Dade County, Florida, rural Texas, and Southern California, which is slam by COVID. So if you look at some of where these guys come from, it's it's the southeast, and Texas. If you just you think about it in those terms, and where is being hit the hardest right now, other than Western New York, is those areas where they would likely go back. So I agree that it does make the most sense for them to stay on campus, get tested, have access to the best medical treatment they can get. Because wherever they're going back home, a lot of these guys aren't exactly going to the Clemson University Medical Center, or like Duke University Medical Center, which I've been to, which is it's stunning. So I don't know, man.
Yeah. And speaking of that too, I give Syracuse a ton of credit because ever since the offseason, I don't think they've had a positive case of the football team, and They, so far they've had 2 with basketball. Like they're doing a phenomenal job, especially compared to other schools like Clemson and FSU and Virginia and Virginia Tech have had a ton of games rescheduled. It's a nightmare at times.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right.
Quick though, I wanted to put a ball on the whole Syracuse thing since we're already talking about Cuse.
Yep, go ahead.
Unfortunately, Marcus Paul passed away today.
Yes, he did. I saw that.
Strength and conditioning coach for the Dallas Cowboys. Won a couple rings with the New York Giants. Won 3 rings with the New England Patriots.
Yep.
Before that, he was a stud defensive back for the Syracuse University football team. I think he played in the 80s. I think it was like 86 to 89.
Mm-hmm.
All-time leader at Syracuse at interceptions with 19, which 19 picks, like that's an insane number.
It absolutely is, yeah.
It's sad, man. Like, just, they said a heart attack and they brought him in and said he was like, basically the nurse described him as like brain dead like. And, I saw earlier today that now he's passed away. And it sucks, man. Like, Syracuse is having a very, very rough week as far as legends. I don't know if you also saw too about Floyd Little, how he's now going to hospice for cancer.
Jeez, no.
Yeah.
2020 can go straight to hell, dude.
It really can. 2020 can suck it hard, but
yeah.
Orange Nation's hurting, and it just, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that kind of stuff and just, T's and P's to their families.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so sad. Yeah, when we were talking about that the other day, it would just bum me out. I'm like, geez, that poor man. Like, and just, the good thing about like guys like that have such an impact on like, especially their colleges, they are like, their memory lasts a lot longer.
Oh my God.
And
Floyd Little is one of the best ambassadors Syracuse has ever had. The guy, total class, total gentleman. He would be at he was at the spring game last year, just talking up with fans, super approachable, just a electric smile, just a great guy.
Yeah.
Phenomenal player, even better human being.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So at the end of each show, each of us get to go on a little bit of a rant about any topic on the planet. Movies. Tony's a big wrestling fan. I am obsessed with movies and how they're made and odd plot lines so I don't know if you want to go first or you want me to go first on this rant. So basically what we're going to do is like anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. Okay. I have a beef with one mother in particular, right? Her name is Miranda Hillard. I can't even say this with a straight face. Her name is Miranda Hillard. She's was married to Daniel Hillard. Daniel Hillard, better known as Eugenia Doubtfire. So, in the movie Mrs. Doubtfire, don't laugh. I need to understand in what universe was the child protection agency operating, because I'm very confused watching that movie. Exactly. He is a great father. His kids adore him. He's not abusive, not a drug addict. Really, his only thing is that he doesn't make as much money as his wife. So what does she do? I want a divorce. Fair enough, right? Yeah, you had a bunch of damn animals at your house. They're pissing all over your carpet. They're in your freaking... Dude, side note, I had friends that moved to San Francisco, and they had a $4,100 rent payment, right, for a 700 square foot house. How much was that house that Miranda Hillard and Daniel Hillard were residing in San Francisco? That house was enormous. That's like a $10 million house in San Francisco. Dude. I think that just sold actually a couple weeks ago. But anyway,
dude, why would you spend that much money to live in a place where homeless people crap all over the street?
Dude, that one of them had their dogs, like almost had their dog stolen from them. So anyway, so her only issue with him is that he's a bad husband. He quit his job over some nonsense about pudgy smoking, whatever. So, all right, I get why she's upset. Divorce the guy. You're not in love anymore. You want to bang Pierce Brosnan? Go ahead. Pierce Brosnan wants to take over your family. I'd be upset with him too. I'd hit him with a line myself. But I do think that it's ridiculous.
That's an I buy fruity.
I do think it's ridiculous that the San Francisco court, for some reason, not just awarded custody, but sole custody to her, and he had 1 day of supervised visitation a week. That is ridiculous. Supervised visitation is not a drug addict. It's so
you need the
demeaning.
supervision to watch your own kids.
In his desperation, he dresses like a woman, and then that makes it worse somehow. I was like, what are you talking about? This is the most devoted father I've ever seen in my life. I wish my parents had half that much energy when they have raising me. I swear to God, it's unbelievable, dude. If you watch that movie, the most unrealistic part about that movie is how the San Francisco justice system failed the Hillard family. Absolutely failed them. It was absurd. And considering that is a town full of fucking junkies, and it's like the epicenter of like the heroin epidemic, it's like, are you kidding me? There has to be worse people. There has to be a single worst father. There has to be a worse father than Daniel Hillard in all of San Francisco. I'm willing to bet that there is. I don't know if there's odds on it. You're the betting guy. I don't know. But let me know, because I would love to put money on Daniel Hillard is not the worst father in all of San Francisco. Unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable. I'm going to give you a sneak peek. I have a song next week that is disgusting and everybody loves. That's my rant for next week. I want to go on it now. I'm so angry thinking about it, but that's my rant. I just don't understand how Miranda Hillard could live with herself after stripping not only her husband, her ex-husband away from her kids, but her kids away from their father like that. It's ridiculous. And as a parent, I think it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.
So I just got a visual of my father in a dress with fake boobs, and I'll never be able to look him in the eye again.
Can your dad make that throw on a moving target with a line from across a pool to the back, square in the back of the head? It's one of the most athletic things I've ever seen an actor do.
No, but if you put him on a basketball court, he is deceptively, I don't even know how to put it.
He's lights out.
Just sneaky and just these weird old school moves. And
oh God, that's hilarious.
He's electric.
All right, what do you got, man?
Basketball once, and he went home. I left. We played at the court by his house. He went home, grabbed my stepmom, grabbed a ladder, grabbed a camera, and had her take photos of him dunking off the ladder, but cut out the ladder so it looks like he's hanging from the rim.
That's hilarious. And,
posted me in that photo on Facebook. I think it's still on his fridge, and that was like 7 years ago.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Your dad is a delightful human being. I will give you that.
He is amazing. He will be so much fun at my wedding.
Yes, very much.
Yes. So my rant, I'm just going to go off on the hypocrisy that is our quote unquote elected leaders, just with how they're handling everything that's going on right now and how it makes no goddamn sense at all. Fair. So I saw today that the mayor of Denver, who had told people to not travel, to do no traveling during the holiday, flew to Mississippi to visit his wife and his daughter because his daughter got a brand new job in Mississippi. Do as I say, not as I do. You know, and for me, like, I don't even like getting political, but I just get so heated at these idiots. It's not a blue tie thing for me. It's not a red tie thing. It's an idiot thing. They're all worthless. They're all idiots. You know, Cuomo coming out and saying like, okay, you know, even though there is no proof of it, there's no data to support it, salons and gyms are high-risk areas for COVID. Not true. My gym alone has had 6,600 check-ins since they reopened in August. 0 traces of COVID linked to the gym. Other gyms in the central New York area, I think the percentage rate is like 0.007 or something like that. Like, we're talking tens of thousands of check-ins and like maybe 1 or 2 cases that can be linked to the gym. Meanwhile, you know, as an essential worker, much like you are as well as a truck driver, I go through and I see all these places that 0 masks, 0 distancing. It's a field day.
Yeah.
But because they're essential, nothing ever happens to them. But all these other places like salons and schools have not been shown as a place where COVID is transmitted, or at least not in high numbers, and we're going to close them down. And today he even said, you know, the national data shows that gyms are a high source or a high-risk area for COVID. Oh, really? National data shows that. Hey, asshole, you're the governor of New York State. I care about New York State. You should care about New York State.
Right.
Trust the data. What's happening here? Fuck.
So it's interesting, dude. So at the beginning of COVID, it was flattening the curve, right? The curve did flatten the curve, and then they didn't open anything, and then people got upset, and people were like, "Fuck it! If they're not going to do anything, we're just going to go live our lives." So, and that's what happens. Number spike. Yep. But these politicians, man, I'm telling you, I have a 5-year-old, right? And it is way easier to reason with her than it is to demand that she do things. And when you start demanding things from people that elected you, those people are public servants. They're not public masters. They're not public bosses. Dude, they're public servants. They work for us. And that's the thing that I think what everybody's forgetting. These fucking people were put there by us, elected by us to work for us, right? So I think like Cuomo sitting up there, the fact they give the guy an award, and again, I'm with you. I am not a red tie, or I voted for both parties, man. I voted for Bush. I voted for Obama.
Yep.
I
voted 4 Democrats, 3 Republicans, and an independent. I believe those are the numbers in the last election.
Right. And it's nothing to do with that. It's issue driven, right? So take Cuomo's Democrat thing aside. If he was a Republican, I'd feel the exact same way if he was doing exactly what he's doing now. And the way he's dictating to us is absolutely absurd. I do not like the way he talks to us. I do not like the way that our Erie County executive, Mark Poloncarz, talks to us. I mean, it's just pointing your finger and like, I will shut you down. I was like, you are not like, no. I was like, can I please hear from a scientist? Just once. Can I hear from Fauci again? I missed that guy. That's when I think that's when we all started going to hell, is when we stopped listening to Fauci. Honestly. And I think if we would have listened to Fauci from the beginning and we did exactly what that guy said, because heaven forbid we listen to a fucking scientist when it comes to something that involves science. You know, we have to listen to freaking blowhards with $2,000 suits on and not doctors who do this stuff for a living. Heaven forbid we do that. It's literally the most aggravating thing in the world. And to just listen to them talk to the American public that way, or the state public that way, or Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, not wearing a mask, or Poloncarz, our Erie County executive, not wearing a mask. And I grant that this is really, 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 really regional, but like we have an Erie County executive. I cannot talk. At his house with a function with 12 other dudes, no mask, masks not around their chin, not on their ears, not in their hands, probably not in their pockets. Where are they? Yeah. But he's going to tell us that we need to wear masks, which I agree with. But try a different form of communication, and also, yes, lead by example.
Yeah, I've been in the trucking industry for years, and whenever I work with a new guy or train somebody, I show them how it's done, and I tell them flat out, like, hey man, I will never ask something of you that I cannot personally do myself.
Right.
Never.
I mean, I'm looking at a graph right now of total hospitalizations, right, in New York. So at our peak, after March, we got up over 18,000, right? So as of November 24th, we are down around 3,000, right, hospitalizations. That is 6 times less than it was at the beginning of this. But they're telling us it's getting as bad as it was. But is it? Or is medicine and science working on some level? I mean, does it all have to be doom and gloom? Can we have some just a little bit of good news at the end of this tunnel? And this honestly should be the last time we talk about COVID, to be 100% honest, because it's been beaten to death. But at the same time, and I think it is important to address when it comes to sports, which is like, I mean, it's affecting like, and it's always easy to forget that there are a lot of people behind the scenes in the NFL, not just the players, that actually rely on the NFL, rely on college basketball, rely on college football, baseball, hockey, whatever, to eat. And it's just a small microcosm of everything that's wrong in America right now, which is like, it's kind of like a way to look at your television and see a symbolic version of America, I guess, if that makes sense, right? So there's all these guys getting it, and you see how it's spread. But we don't always see that, but we can in sports because it's happening in real time. We can't see that with movies or TV shows or whatever, and we're not really getting it from the news. But the best way to get the kind of the information is see things that are happening live and see how they're affecting day-to-day operations of things that are happening in real time, aka sports. I think it's a really kind of good way for people to see like the impact of this, as far as like numbers, not necessarily the hospitalization and like the grim impact of it, but just seeing like, oh, that's a 24-year-old elite pro athlete in the top physical shape, and he's in the fucking hospital. Like, I don't know, but I'm sorry, I got off on a rant on your.
No, you're right. And just continue. Real quick, like I want to kind of leave it on a positive note. As much as I can criticize like elected officials, I will give major credit to one. So one day I was just going off on a rant about essential workers and how we're exposed and people aren't wearing masks. And like, if we get it, we're basically like a traveling like plague because we go everywhere, different counties, different places all the time. Right. I was like, no, why isn't there more testing? Why can't essential workers get tested? We need test. my county executive of Onondaga County, Ryan McMahon, tweeted directly at me. And he had a press conference at 3:00 announcing that they were going to do asymptomatic testing in Onondaga County. Anybody can get a test. It's free. Just make an appointment, drive up. He did his press conference at 3:00. 10 minutes after his press conference ended, he sends me a direct tweet and tags me in it. Hey, here's the link, asymptomatic testing. Go get a test.
Nice.
That, to me, that's a stand-up thing to do. Like, he clearly listened to me and responded and had a solution.
I like that, actually.
It's amazing. And
it's somebody working for the people.
Yeah, and he's A+ in my book after that. He even said, I'm a big fan of the water boy. I was like, hey, man, I'm a big fan of the county executive. Let's go. Right,
nice. All right, so in closing, COVID sucks. Miranda Hillard sucks. And the Bengals need to do a better job protecting Joe Burrow. Justin Herbert is the best running quarterback of all time. We'll see on Taysom Hill. He is very expensive duct tape, and college basketball's back. So all good news. That is the rundown of our show. If you want to, we're going to try to do the show every Tuesday at 8:30. A lot of times we get kind of bumped, or Tony and I schedules don't match up. We'll figure it out. But we'll try to best to do a show every week. And if you want to follow us, I am at Bill Kegel. He is at Q's Waterboy. And there is a Twitter page for this show at Under the Hoodies. We'll be doing other things too. We're sort of still finding our voice a little bit. So I appreciate the people that listen. And anything else, Tony?
No, everybody have a good Thanksgiving and enjoy the sports they're on.
Amen to that. 2 games instead of 3 tomorrow. But, like Dory says, just keep swimming.
Yep. It's better than nothing. It's better than the spring. Let's go.
1,000,000%. All right, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Have a good one, man.
Peace.